Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and in today's video, we're talking all about some design basics that beginners always get wrong and how to avoid it, also how to fix it. And remember, people go to school, they train in this, they've spent years studying and perfecting their craft. So if you're a beginner, you're not expected to be perfect from the beginning, but I'm gonna help you get there sooner rather than later. Now, the first mistake I always see, the design basic that nobody should be getting wrong, but a lot of people struggle with, is actually as simple as the layout of your furniture plan. Where your furniture is placed in your home is just as important as the size, as the materials and the finishes, the paint color you choose, because it makes the difference between a space being usable or completely non-functional. So the layout you're using is so important. And this is mostly just about the furniture placement. Typically, I'm able to look at a space and just say, this is what it's meant to be, this is what it was supposed to be, this is how the house is designed, so this is what we should do. But so many homes are built in the past. They might be 100 years old, they might be 20 years old, and we just don't live the same way as we used to. When we enter a space, we want that floor plan to be as open as possible. I wanna see the floor. I wanna be invited into that space, be it a living room or a dining room, even a bedroom. So the more of the floor I see, the more open that space is going to look. Focus on seeing the front or the seat of that sofa, where we're going to sit and where we're going to walk to get there. I want all of that to be available to me. In a bedroom, for example, I don't wanna walk into the side of a bed, I wanna walk in to see the foot of a bed. It's going to make that space look a little bit larger. In a dining room, I want to see clear pathways. If there's a door, I want to be able to see that, and I want to be able to access that easily. That's going to make that space feel larger. Something else you could do oftentimes I see is a smaller floor plan, right? A small layout, a smaller home, or it's not even necessarily a smaller home, just a home that maybe isn't laid out that well. I will often recommend to the clients I work with, maybe a banquette or a built-in is better in this space, because we can then offset whatever that furniture is. These are all tricks you can use to make a home look larger, to make it look more open and more inviting and more usable. I always want to say, like, I just recently met with a client and I said, okay, this living room layout we're coming up with, do we need to have a TV here? No, okay. That means that I don't have to centralize all of the furniture on a single focal point. We can kind of play around with that and create something more functional and usable in that space, because the house was a little older. It wasn't designed to have a flat screen TV in this living room. And you have to set aside some of those design rules or principles a lot of people talk about, because depending on the room, if it calls for it, I'm gonna float the furniture in the middle of the room, or I'll push it up against a wall. I don't care how big or how small the house is. I will not let that define the space or what I'm gonna do. But we'll talk a little bit more about these layouts later in the video. So what I said before was that layouts are just as important as the paint color you're choosing. And that's the next thing I see a lot of people make mistakes with, especially beginners. These are design basics of how to choose color. And you've got to be good at it, because no matter what you're doing, painting is not easy. I don't care if you're throwing a paint party and you're like, hey, beer and pizza for everybody, all my friends are coming over to help me paint the house, or if you're hiring painters, it's still expensive, it's still hard, it still takes a long time to do, especially if you're getting it done right. I recommend hiring the painters, but that's just me personally. I think it is so important that you nail your colors the first time. And so when I'm doing that and I'm working with a client, I start off with, what are the parameters or the defining boundaries of this space? What is that piece we have, or that thing we're using, that inspirational moment? In my home, for example, I love the color blue. So I chose to use a fabric that I really love in this blue floral moment. It has all sorts of variation in the colors and I really like it. So I pull from this for inspiration. In my dining room, I painted it a bright blue color that is reminiscent of Wedgwood blue, because I love that. And that worked out for me, but it's a really bold color. So I said, all right, what's grounding it in this color scheme? This darker blue. That's another color to bring in. So we use that on some of the accents, the drapes, the chairs, those sorts of things. And that works out successfully. In this room though, that is not my dining room, my living room, I chose to use a mix of lighter blues and darker blues as well, but with a different color scheme. Now this room is obviously white and not blue, but for those of you asking, my dining room is a color called Notable Hue, and this room is actually Greek Villa by Sherwin-Williams. So I love those colors. They're great. They work for me. And Greek Villa is one of my favorite whites of all time, if I'm being honest, beside the point. You want to start off with a strong foundation and inspiration. I recently met with a client who she wanted this specific type of countertop material. And so I said, okay, we're building the color scheme around this. She wanted a mix of different whites in this space. Great, perfect. Let's pull from that for those decisions. Go and select your stone, and then let's start getting that inspiration for those specific colors. Test them in the space and move on from there. That prevents you from having something that just doesn't make any sense. I don't want you to paint a room and be like, I fell in love with this paint color, so I painted the room this color. Now I don't know what to do with it. Form a plan. Figure out what color is the sofa gonna be? What color is the accent pillow gonna be? How do I pull all of this together? And then let's start testing colors in this space. You need to paint multiple swatches or get multiple swatches. You can get those like peel and stick kind of stickers that you either paint yourself or are already that color. You can get those and put them in multiple spaces. Look at them in multiple times of the day and see what they actually look like. I don't care if it's a paint color. I don't care if it's the upholstery on the sofa. I don't care if it's the wood tone on a piece of furniture. I would love for you to be able to see that, or at least have the ability to return it if you decide you don't like it. Now, the next thing we have to talk about is one of the most important aspects of interior design that you absolutely have to get right. But before we do, sometimes you need a sounding board. A lot of those decisions can be difficult, be it the layout, be it the paint colors you're choosing, or any aspect of design, especially if you're renovating. It's worth getting some feedback from a designer. You can always book a one-on-one virtual consultation with me using the link in the description box down below, or going to intro.co/GarrettLeChic. I can look at your space and I can answer those difficult questions, or at least put you on the path to making the right decisions. Now, something else I might be able to help you with, or you can go at yourself, just make sure you really are thinking about it. That's lighting. You have to have great lighting in your home. No matter the space, no matter the style, lighting makes the difference. And it's not just about overhead lighting. It's not just about, oh, set the temperature to the right color. You need to have layered lighting. That makes a space look soft and elegant and expensive and beautiful. And I don't care if it's just warm tone lighting. I don't care if you want everything to have, like the colored LED lights. Fine. Okay, let's make sure we nail it though. It needs to look good, and there's a way to do this. Because even great design, expensive design, I don't care how well it's done, if the lighting's not good, it's gonna look bad. When you are doing your lighting, we wanna have a gradient of temperatures and kind of brightness or volume of lighting, let's say. And this happens in a couple of different ways. If you have recessed lighting, those should be the brightest lights. So I'm gonna go for something that has a temperature of maybe 4,000 there, because it's gonna be really bright. That's almost like a daylight. You could go higher than that, but the higher you go, the more blue the light is going to be. And I don't want your space to look blue. That's for a hospital. That's for a garage. If you wanna live in a garage, that's a personal take. I don't recommend it. I also don't recommend living in a hospital for obvious reasons, but that's beside the point. So I want the temperature of lighting in my home to be a little bit warmer. I'm gonna go for 3,500 to 4,000 for overhead lighting. 4,000 is more in a kitchen or a bathroom, 3,500 for the rest of the house. When it comes to an actual ceiling mounted light fixture, I'm gonna go a little warmer. So I might go with a 3,000 temperature bulb. And that's gonna make me happy. It's gonna be warm, it's gonna provide a great glow. I'm gonna put that on a dimmer switch, because if you're getting an oversized light fixture that appropriately fills the space, you'll probably have too many bulbs and too much lighting. So we need to be able to tone that down a bit. Next, I want lamps. I don't care what room it is. I don't care at all. I want lamps. I want alternative lighting sources, because that's how we build that character. We build a little bit of the softness, and we can create visual interest. And these are a number of different things. It doesn't have to be a table lamp. It can be a floor lamp, a table lamp, a task light, like a reading light over your shoulder. How fabulous. You could do sconces. You can do art lighting. You could even do rechargeable lights to float in the middle of a room. So put one of those on your coffee table or on a side table that doesn't have access to a plug. A rechargeable light bulb you could use if you have like a floating living room arrangement and you don't have access to a plug. Rechargeable light bulbs are great because you can just put them in the lamp and you don't have to plug it in. They're also great if you live in an area that maybe is a little bit temperamental in terms of the electricity. Like there's a lot of storms happening on the East Coast right now and a lot of people have power outages. Not the girlies with the rechargeable light bulbs, and I love that for them. Add as many alternative lighting sources as possible. Put a lamp at every corner, rechargeable lights in the middle of a room. Love all of that. And I think it goes without saying, but some of you need to hear this. No just like naked light bulbs hanging from the ceiling. okay? It's not giving what you think it is. It's giving light and nothing else. Another aspect of design that beginners often get wrong is all about the quality of pieces you're bringing into your space. I understand that, if you're moving, if you're getting into a new place, you might be like, I wanna get it furnished, I wanna live here, like I'm so excited and I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy for you, okay? It's a big deal to have your own place, or at least having a roof over your head, and nowadays is a big deal. But I want you to focus on quality over quantity. You do not have to decorate in a rush. You don't have to fully furnish everything today or right away or in the first month or week or whatever of you being in a space. Take your time and focus on quality. This is something I talk to my subscribers about all of the time. And if you're not a part of our GarrettLeChic family, I would greatly appreciate if you hit that subscribe button and joined us to elevate your home and your life. And I love that for you. I love it for me too, beside the point. But quality is gonna be something so important. And I'm always saying this, take your time. Find things that are great quality. That's why I love to shop vintage, because you get really good quality without the big price tag of high quality pieces that are newly produced. And I'll mix them together. So I like a strong contrast of styles in my home, and I'll look for them in different ways. Like this chair, for example, is original from the mid-century. It has the original mohair upholstery on it in incredible condition because the quality is a 10 out of 10. My sofa's brand new. It's in a postmodern style, in new, gorgeous cotton velvet. Like, it's stunning. But that piece was really expensive. It was like on the verge of being an investment. And that's not always the answer for everyone, to spend that much on a piece of furniture. The quality is the most important thing to me, more so than when something was produced, more so than the style of something, more so than the cost of it. I want fantastic quality. You're not gonna get that if you're rushing. If you're just going to a flat pack store and buying the cheapest thing possible, you're just not gonna get that. Design is a journey. It's not a race. Honestly, beautiful homes are never finished, okay? They're constantly evolving, they're constantly changing. You find something great, you add something new, you take your time with it. That's the joy in it. So be a part of that. Embrace that in your home and take your time and get creative with what you're doing. And your style may change and evolve over time, and that's great too. You should constantly be elevating or exposing yourself to great interiors and beautiful homes. That way you see what's out there and you can get inspired for your own space. Take your time, do not rush into it. Don't buy cheap, junky stuff for your home. Like I said, I would rather have nothing. I would rather sit on the floor and eat dinner than I would before I bought a cheap dining table and chairs, okay? I just don't want it in my home, and you should be thinking the same thing. Now, something to remember when you are shopping for new pieces of furniture is that you want to be careful to avoid trends. Trends aren't always bad, but they're also not good. You also want to be careful to avoid people who are just going to push trends or their style or what is the most trendy thing on you and tell you to do that in your home. I love personal style. I wanna know who you are when I enter your home. I wanna learn something about you. So I have my own style. When you come into my home, you know that I love beautiful pieces, I love elegance, I love timeless glamour and sophistication and all of these things. They embody who I am as a person, or who I strive to be, I guess, but I love these things. So that's what my home tells you about me. That may not be who you are. So I don't replicate my home for my clients unless they specifically ask for it, which they don't because they have their own personal styles, or I take the time to get to know them to develop their style, right? So that's something you have to be doing. Avoiding trends is a good way to go about doing that. And avoiding trends isn't always that easy because sometimes you get exposed to something a lot and you're like, wow, I really like this. And maybe you do, maybe you don't, maybe it is a trend and that's okay. An example, boucle was one of the most popular trends, okay? It was like everywhere, everybody had boucle. People were doing boucle everything. It was on all of the shelves in all of the stores. If you existed in the last 5 years, you have seen boucle, okay? But I saw it and was like, I don't know if I like that. Is it a trend? Is it timeless? It's interesting. I love the texture of it. Like, could be cool, but do I really want to commit to that? So I waited a year. I waited a year on the trend, and it was just a trend, okay? Once I saw it mass produced in low quality and people were sharing how bad it looked after a year, I knew it was a trend, and if I was going to do it, that I would have to go very high quality on it. So I limited myself to one piece of this boucle trend. Speaking of someone who also doesn't like trends, this is Arden, the most timeless and classic beauty in this house. So good to me. You're so cute, Arden. Are you gonna sit here with me? You gonna be a part of the video? Okay, but I waited a year on that trend before I decided that I could bring it into my home in a small way. That's how you need to operate around trends and trendy styles. Wait them out, get exposure, decide if that's really your personal style, and then you can go for it. Something else you can look at when it comes to trends is that sometimes it's just about availability. When light blue and chrome started trending again, it was really great for me because those are things I love. And it allowed me to take advantage of that and add some more of it into my home with modern production pieces of furniture like my sofa. It was something that was trending for everyone else, but it was a tried and true classic for me, and it made sense. It created accessibility so I could get something I wanted. That's a good aspect of trending design, and that's something you should also be looking for. Trends can come in all sizes and shapes. You just want to be careful about how heavily you commit to them before you know if that is your style or not. Look at what people have done with that trend and look at how it applies to your home so you don't feel like, hey, what I have isn't good enough and I have to redo everything. No. Maybe we can add that in a little bit of a way that redevelops or re-inspires you to do something different in your space, or inspires you to look outside of that. Maybe you see what's trending and you're like, ugh, red flag, not for me. That's a really great thing to remember, that not every trend is for everyone. Just because something is new doesn't mean it's the best thing or the better thing. Wait it out, see if it's timeless, see if you like it in the long term before you decide to jump on a trend. Great designers curate spaces to be fitting for who their clients are. They don't just see something that's trending and replicate it in every home. Well, there you have it, everyone. Thanks for hanging out and spending some time with me today. Be sure you check out this video right here to learn all about some more interior design basics, and this one right here to learn all about some living room layouts. And I'll see you over there. And thanks for watching.